Toul Sleng Genocide. Museum is the memorial site of Security Office 21.
S21 of Democratic Kampuchea.
And located in what was then the abandoned city of Phnom Penh, whose citizens had been evacuated on 17 April 1975.
S21 served as the central hub of a vast prison system throughout the country, and was used throughout the period as a secret facility for the detention, interrogation, torture, and extermination of those deemed political enemies of the regime.
Due to a policy of guilt by association, at times whole families were detained at the center. Very few inmates were released out of the prison during the years 1975 and 1979.
Only 12 former inmates survived the opening of S21. And Phnom Penh was liberated. 4 of them were children.
Approximately 720 Khmer Rouge actors worked in and for S21. Several hundred of them were general workers, including people who grew food for the prison. The rest formed the internal workforce, including administration, guards, and interrogators.
A schoolhouse turned into torture center.
The prison had once been Prayer Ponhia Yacht High School, later renamed Toul Sleng, built in 1962. It was situated on a 600-meter by 400-meter parcel of land. Behind the school fence were 2 wooden buildings with thatched roofs, one of which had been Toul Sleng Primary School. Together, these buildings formed the S21 prison.
The combined campus was used by the Khmer Rouge after the conquest of Phnom Penh as a security center for the systematic interrogation of inmates. Classrooms were turned into prison cells and torture chambers. The entire campus was surrounded with electric barbed wire braid against the outer aisles of the individual parts of the building should prevent desperate prisoners from committing suicide on the ground floor of building.
A1 classroom was divided into 2 rooms to detain the high-ranking of Khmer Rouge who were accused as the traitors. Anyway, in building B, C, and D, classrooms on the ground floor were divided into small cells, measuring 0.8 x 2 meters each, which were made by brick, and on the first floor by wood. The small cells were designed for single prisoners. The second floor included even larger rooms that held up to 40 or 50 prisoners. One room served as the office of S21's chief, Dutch, and another as an office for documentation and general administration. Nearby houses were used for interrogation and torture.
Between 1975 and 1979, 15,000, 20,000 people were imprisoned from all parts of Cambodia, among others, members of the Khmer Rouge who were considered as traitors. Approximately 720 people were working for the torture center.
Structure of S21. S21 was controlled by the Ministry of Defense, chaired by Son Sen In Lun, was the first chief of S21, followed by Dutch in 1976. Other people also known to have worked at the center include Kim Vant,
Mom Nai, deputy chief of S21,
Suez Thai,
and Hawang Song Aur aka Pon. S21 had several satellite sites. These included the colonial-era Presa prison in Dankur district, Phnom Penh, which was used as a re-education center, and Chuang Ek, a large execution site 15 km west of Phnom Penh city.
Prison conditions.
After their arrival in S21, prisoners were photographed and forced by guards to divulge information about themselves and their networks. They were required to give detailed biographies, beginning with their childhood and ending with their date of arrest. Prisoners were forced to undress. All of their personal belongings were confiscated. Next, they were taken to their cells. Those who were housed in small cells were chained to the floor. In the large rooms without walls, prisoners were shackled together using a series of iron rods. The prisoners slept with their heads in opposite directions to prevent communication. Talking among prisoners was forbidden.
There is actually a stupa, which stands in the middle of the area, and it is this stupa which has become the place for housing the 8,000 skulls taken out from the mass graves. Chungik killing field of Phnom Penh is open daily. All are welcome, though it is advised by the authorities that children should be advised and properly guided before they come here. Chungik killing field in Phnom Penh is located at a distance of 15 kilometers away from the southwestern frontiers of Phnom Penh. The Democratic of Kampuchea was led by Pol Pot, a former school teacher. The killing machine of S-21 was a secret prison for torturing, interrogating and depriving those who were accused of illegal activities and accused of being traitors. The Khmer Rouge acted like savage animals with no conscience as they preyed upon the innocent and naive citizens. The Khmer Rouge had turned the peaceful and beautiful Chung Ek village into the infamous and miserable killing fields. The Pol Pot regime slaughtered people in the thousands without mercy and buried them in mass graves. No matter how much visitors have read or been told about the Khmer Rouge brutality and the number of people killed, all visitors shall understand the full process of how the tens of thousands of prisoners were executed here. More importantly, visitors can learn about the chain of command established by Pol Pot. Given the way that the Ultra Khmer Rouge regime was organized, a decision for murder was most likely ordered by Brother Number Ohen himself, Pol Pot. Everything had to meet with his approval, even though there is no written proof. However, Son Sen, who was responsible for national security and defense, and Ducha, commandant at S-21, were directly responsible for killing the prisoners at S-21 and Chung Ek killing field, and written proof is available. At S-21 there were many documents routed to the party center, and they all passed through Son Sen's. Dozens of memoranda addressed to him by Dutch have survived. Dutch's queries and annotations have appeared on the prisoners' confessions, often in red ink. More often, Dutch denigrated what the prisoners confessed and suggested beatings and tortures to unearth truth that he thought the prisoners were hiding. These documents display how the upper brothers Son Sen and Dutch were responsible for the thousands of prisoners' murders at S-21 and Chung Ek. After getting an instruction to kill from the Central Committee of the regime through Son Sen, Dutch ordered his deputy Hor to produce a must-smash list, taking orders from Hor and Suan Thai, who were in charge of the documentary unit. The list was prepared. The list was submitted to Dutch for his signature. Then, the signed list was sent to Peng, the head of defense unit, who seems to have been demoted in 1978 when his duties were taken by Hai Yu Peng. Had the keys to all of the cells in the S-21 prison. Based on the list, Peng ordered the guards to remove the must-smash prisoners to be killed. The important and special prisoners like Kio Mias, Nisaran, Hunim, Kui Thuan, Kai Thuan, Cheng An, Onveth, and foreigners were killed and buried at the S-21 prison. As for foreigners, including Canadians, Americans, Australians, and British, guards were ordered to kill them and to burn their dead bodies so that no bones were left. The majority of the victims were trucked out to Chung Ek at about 8 or 9 o'clock p.m. to be killed. The guards took the prisoners from their cells to the main gate, where a large truck waited, and told them that they were being transferred to another place. This lie was created to prevent the prisoners from crying, refusing to go, or from escaping. In order to be well prepared for execution, a messenger from the defense unit was sent to the Chung Ek killing field in advance to inform a permanent team about the number of the prisoners to be killed that day.
It was later dismantled, and the skulls have been properly buried or remain on display as forensic evidence in a glass cabinet at the museum. Museum building. Before being converted into a prison, the grounds of S-21 were 2 schools, Toul Sleng Primary School and Toul Svay Prey High School. 4 school buildings comprised a campus and are arranged in the form of an open rectangle around a courtyard. Classrooms were converted by the Khmer Rouge into prison cells and torture chambers. The entire compound was surrounded by electric barbed wire, and the open corridors of some of the buildings were enclosed with barbed wire, probably to prevent prisoners from escaping or from jumping to their deaths from the upper floors. High-ranking officers were mostly situated in Block A, housed in single cells and chained to iron beds. Family members were chained in Block C in small cells measuring Zorko 8 meter wide and 2 meter long walls. Separating the cells were made of rough brickwork or wood partition, due to the overcrowding of prisoners and the unsanitary conditions of the facility. many detainees in S21 probably died of disease. Some of the internal divisions of the buildings of S21 have been changed since being converted into a museum and memorial site in late 1979. In Block B, cells have been removed in order to provide space to display photos of the thousands of torture victims who lost their lives at S21. Many faces look emaciated and or have bruises on them. One encounters the desperate and sad gaze of prisoners, along with the helpless eyes of children, when looking at these photos. In Block D, the farthest building from the entrance, the torture instruments used by interrogators in S21 are on display. Those who survived the torture were murdered nearby and later taken to the Chong Ek killing field. And then murdered. Torture methods of the Khmer Rouge include electric shock and slow drowning in water vats. The prisoners were tortured until their tormentors were satisfied with their confession of crimes and networks. In the courtyard of the museum, the white rectangular concrete grave symbolized the last 14 torture victims found on the site. Next to the grave stands a gallows, once a piece of playground equipment, under which were placed by the Khmer Rouge large traditional water jars. Prisoners were hung upside down from the gallows, their heads dunked into the water to near drowning as a means of extracting confessions. Today, the courtyard is lined with fragrant native trees and shaded benches, recalling happier days when this area of the torture prison was a schoolyard for pupils.